The Trump Presidential Library is facing a new legal challenge. A group of Miami residents, including historian Marvin Dunn, is suing in federal court to block the transfer of land next to the Freedom Tower, saying it violates the U.S. Constitution's Emoluments Clause, which makes it illegal for presidents to receive gifts and other financial benefits. The suit argues that since the plans for the 47-story tower call for not just a library, but also a Trump hotel, condos, and commercial offices for lease, it constitutes a financial gift to the president and is therefore illegal. Shortly after the suit was filed, I spoke to Dunn and his attorney, Gerald Greenberg.
So the Emoluments Clause says the president can't get gifts from the states, and this is a gift from a state. This is a very valuable gift from a state. I don't think the framers envisioned a $300+ million property across from a basketball arena in a commercial district, but that's what this is. It's a gift to the president, quite clear, quite simply. And what we're seeking to do is two things. We're seeking two things. We're seeking a declaration from the court that this is an unconstitutional emolument, and we're seeking an injunction to stop and undo the transfer of this valuable land to the president.
And let me just hone in on that for a second with you, Jerry. It seems like if this land was being donated for a nonprofit library center, if it had been simply given for a presidential library, as land in other places has been given for other presidential libraries, that you wouldn't be raising this objection. Your objection is because this library is really more than a library. It's a hotel envisioned, it's office space, it's a for-profit venture. Is that really what it comes down to?
That's exactly right. This has nothing to do with whether we like or dislike President Trump, whether we want his library to be here or not. This is not, by any stretch, a presidential library. You know, I've been to a number of them. The Harry Truman Library in Independence, Missouri doesn't have a 47-story skyscraper buzz. It happened last year to be the George W. Bush Library in Texas. It's a library and it's a museum. Same with the Clintons, Obamas, the Reagans, all of these. If this were just a library, we would not have this lawsuit. But they've made it crystal clear this isn't a library. The president himself said, I don't do libraries and museums. He said he expects it to be a hotel. They released this well-documented and well-produced video showing what it's going to be. It's going to be a hotel. It's going to be a commercial center. He said, maybe we'll have the airplane in the bottom. Maybe we'll have a statue in the bottom or whatever it is. They've bragged that they're getting prime real estate in Miami for this purpose. The logo of the Trump organization is on the proposed building. So they've made it clear through their own words and their own actions that this is not a library. This is a commercial venture. And that's what separates this from all of the other libraries, Bush, Obama, Clinton, everybody before them.
Marvin, you've been raising objections to the transfer of this land from Miami Dade College back to the state and then on to the Trump Library Foundation or board or whatever it currently is called. Why do you continue to press this case? Because you've tried this in court in other venues, in state court, and have been unsuccessful. Why push this now?
Because what they did is wrong. It's just basically wrong. And I don't sit for injustice and for particularly abuse of presidential power. So yes, I'm persistent because we need to stop this. Most of the folks in Miami-Dade County don't want this, particularly the fact that it was given away for political favor for $10. So yes, I'm very persistent. And the folks with me, the other plaintiffs, we're going to stick with this until we stop this library from going up, so-called library.
Marvin, as I understand it, among the plaintiffs, besides yourself, is actually a Miami Dade College student who theoretically is harmed by the transfer of this land. You are a longtime educator, Marvin. When you look at the value of this land, it's not just the value of the land when it comes to the building that'll be built there, but what its use is. And when you think about that as it relates to Miami-Dade College, talk to me a little bit about that. What bothers you about this? Because again, on its face, there is some sense of pride that some people might have about having a presidential library associated with a community college or a Miami-Dade College, which something like this has never happened before. So why try to block it?
Well, Jim, that might be all right if Miami-Dade College got something back. Miami-Dade College will get nothing back from this highly commercial venture by the Trump family. That's outrageous, absolutely outrageous. So why don't they're going to have a hotel or apartments, give Miami-Dade College students, Miami-Dade College, some of the money going forward? Why not?
Well, Marvin, let me just ask this, and then I'll go to Jerry in a second. You know, there are going to be some people who will look at this and say, well, you know, Marvin just hates Donald Trump, and that's what's motivating all of this. What's your response?
No, no, no. No president. I would be upset if Obama was doing this. No president should be doing this. And no, I don't like Trump's policies. I don't like him as a person. But this is not based upon my personal feelings. This is based upon the fact that he is, I think, violating the Constitution.
Jerry, you're in federal court on this case because it, as you claim, you allege it's a violation of the Emoluments Clause, which says, as you pointed out, that presidents cannot ignore anything other than the salary that is dedicated to them. You know, this will give me a sense for the timetable here. And what are you, I know you're seeking a redress of I guess, well, explain to me what it is that you're seeking. Is it a complete nullification of the agreement? Would you be satisfied if the library were to come back or the foundation were to come back and say, no more condo, no more office space, we'll just do a simple library? I mean, explain to me the remedy here from your perspective.
To your question about if what we would take, I don't want to, it's hard to answer hypotheticals before we have anything, but I will say this. If there were to be a court order or an agreement backed up by a court order saying this could only be and will only be a proper library, I think we would go a long way. There'd be so many nuances to it that I can't sit here right now and say, sure, we'll take something like that. But I think that would go a long way. A critical part of these claims is that they're planning to use, as I said, that they're planning to use this for something other than a library and really as a commercial property. If that part would go away, I think we would be in a very different realm and possibly in a realm where we could move on.
Marvin, as we sort of saw, I think the thing that has struck me the most about this process is how there was really no back and forth with anyone from the foundation about what this would be. Like, I mean, I think that was part of your frustration when you initially talked about how the Board of Trustees at Miami-Dade College went about this. I mean, you would typically expect that if a college or university was negotiating the presidential library, there would be things like what types of classes might be involved. How do you integrate the college with the library? None of that stuff took place, you know, early on. No talk of clearly revenue sharing or anything like that about the for-profit parts of it, but no discussion or really plan about what the educational benefit could be of a facility like this.
Because Governor DeSantis jumped ahead of everything and just said, we'll give the land to Miami-Dade, to the Trump Library. The governor cut short any talk about anything coming back to Miami-Dade College. He made sure that Miami-Dade College got nothing.
Jerry, I realize you're focused on this particular case, but I can't help but also think a little bit about what's happening in Palm Beach with the renaming of the airport there into the President Donald J. Trump International Airport, in which they are also negotiating some sort of merchandising deal as part of the renaming. I know that's not your case, but I'm just sort of curious if you've looked at that at all and think that that may also have some serious questions as it relates to the Emoluments Clause.
I think it does. I think it raises serious questions. I mean, it's fascinating. We're at nearly 250 years of this republic. There's almost no case law in the Emoluments Clause because people haven't pushed the constitutional boundaries that far. And here we are now, where it suddenly becomes a whole new practice area for attorneys potentially because of what's going on. I think our case is stark because it's a transfer right immediately from the state to the president. It's about, again, it's as black and white, crystal clear an emolument as you could get. I don't want to go too far into a Palm Beach case because I haven't studied all the nuances, but it certainly raises Emoluments Clause concerns. I think that case raises state powers, separation of power, municipal control questions, probably as a threshold matter. this issue of whether the rights have been taken away from Palm Beach County for something it should control. But once you start getting into naming rights, merchandising rights, you're certainly getting into emolument territory. I don't know that when Hamilton and Madison were sitting down, they thought about what to do for airport T-shirts and who gets to put their name on it. But again, this is the sort of it comes back to the same level of corruption that they were concerned about, and I think there will be emoluments concerns probably a little further down the road in the airport situation.